in the world.
What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Monday something or other. Monday something or other. Monday Q&A. That's what it is. In the chat, if you type CiottiFPV, it'll light up an orange, and I will read your chat comment. If you really want to make sure I read it, you can do a super chat. Totally up to you, though. I catch 99% of the folks that type CiottiFPV. So, yeah, do it. Speaking of the chat, McConnell Studios was first, Dead Chicken FPV was next, King Turkey, Frank Nicholas, Grizz FPV, Riot 9, Bob Noxious, Northern Tier, Cody, SA, Dan 636, Demo FPV, Slide By, Kevin Sumner again, Charles Marseille, Abraham, Jackalope, Riot 9, Terminal Insanity, Ryan Jones, Freeloader, Paul McDonald, Stevo 43068, Gamma Gonad, B-Man FPV, Slide By, Freeloader, Remy Tim, Brandon's Baked Beans, King Turkey, Bob Noxious, Slide By. If you want the gangly man to read your name, you gotta get in early. And you gotta say something. Or just type CiottiFPV and it'll light up in orange and I'll read your comment. Grizz FPV typed CiottiFPV and says, how goes it? Ciotti and Collective. It's going well. There's a thing going on up here. I was hanging out with Maggie all day in Athens. And we did yoga, and by the time I got home here, I had a couple calls lined up, and I didn't have a chance to shower. So, you know, I smell like I live under a bridge right now, and there's just a real thing going on in this general vicinity. But you know, if you guys want, if you tag me in the chat every so often, I'll do what I'm doing now, and we'll work, and we'll just change it up. You'll be able to tell how far we are into the stream by how just absurd this situation up here is kind of going. It's up to you. Or you can just ignore it and I'll just, you know, continue to be a lunatic. Shirt of the day! Thanks to Bill at BQE for sending this shirt over and the Ripsqueak shirt and some other really cool stuff a while back. Demo FPV says, hey CiottiFPV and Collective. Bob Noxious says, what's up Collective? How's the gangly man tonight? I'm doing well. Slide By says, what's up? Hope you... I almost threw up. And the Collective have a good week. Gamma Gonad says, CiottiFPV rules, next big Hollywood pilot. Oh God, you never know. But I'm happy with the smaller gigs, to be honest. The big camera stuff, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm perfectly happy flying. What I really want to do is fly these live DJI rigs. This is the shit, man. I can fly sub 250 rigs, and it's super fun. And I'm like working with TV studio folks, which I fucking love, and GoPro stuff. I would love to just stick with those two. This whole lifter thing, man. Like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Cash says the church spot you used to fly was pretty fun to watch. I gotta be honest, I don't know which church spot that is. I've flown a lot of churches. I don't necessarily know if I flew one church more than once though. So I'm not super sure if I what else is going on in the chat? T-Bird says, what's up, Ugly? Alright. Just like that. We're caught up on chat. You guys in the chat, is there anybody, so I put into the title, that I can cover the, look. Somebody, this fella, Glycogen Cycling, he did a live stream of the Criterium race live stream. I'm not going to play his audio, and I'm going to keep him kind of over in the corner here. And in theory, I mean, realistically, he's live streaming a live stream that you had to pay for. So I think he's, you know, I don't think he was really supposed to be doing this. So I can't imagine that he would be able to ding me on copyright stuff. So I'm gonna leave this in the corner here for a little while, and yeah, you guys can see some of the DJI shots that I got. So let me rewind back here. You'll see it every time they go between turns 2 and 3. It's basically when they start going downhill. There's the starting line, there's T1, There's a short, flat run, and then there's T2, and then they start to go down the hill, and that's where I picked them up. I'll show you guys where. Right, it's also where there really aren't any spectators. Is it right there? I think it might be right. Yeah, they're going down the hill. So it's this run here. So you'll every once in a while. Nope. This is them coming up the hill to the start-finish line. Okay, so they're gonna come up here. They're gonna hit T1. It's all left-hand turns. They're gonna hit T1, and then they're gonna hit T2, and then I'll pick them up. So you guys can just kind of keep an eye, and you'll see, yeah, a whole bunch of shots. I also have. I have some. I don't know what happened. I had the DJI goggles in the settings for the DJI goggles. I had it set to overwrite, but it didn't. There you guys go. Look at that. Look at the blinding sun in the background. Not only was there like 30+ mile-an-hour winds that were swirling off the buildings, but the sun was setting right there. I mean, some of the shots look gorgeous because of that, though. Like all backlit and like some of the shots are beautiful. But it was kind of hard to see like colors and numbers to pick out specific riders. But I made it work, and yeah, super challenging flying conditions. But you know, I don't know. So yeah, there you go. There's some fun stuff, and I do have one DJI goggle video thing when the ducts were still on, the Tooth Fairy 2, and let me just pull that up now because it's it's pretty wild. So these are the look at that flag. Come on, look at that flag, yo. Like, this is ridiculous. Get out of here. Get out of here, subtitles. Get out of here. We don't want you. There we go. Yeah, this is when I was testing with some of like the amateur races. So look at this. Look at this. This is with the ducts on. This is like I can't move. Look at how strong the wind is. And then I'm gonna elevator up, and then I'm gonna really put the look at it. Look at it. I'm going like 4 miles an hour. Oh god, I really wanted to leave the ducts on, but the other problem is you see it bobbling around. Like, there's no tune on Earth that could really work with that would work. See, and look at the speed difference when I turned. Like, look at this. Look at the speed difference. Ready? Look at that. Surfing on the wind, just gliding backwards. Yeah, it was just absurd. Man, I flew about 10 batteries with the ducts on. I was trying everything that I possibly could, but it was just, the wind was just too much. And since I didn't have the GoPro on, since the rig was sub 250, yeah, I pulled the ducts off eventually. It's the only way I would have been able to fly. It was either pull the ducts off or don't fly. See it here? Like, look at it pushing me into the... Look at it! Look at the wind, yo! The wind was really swirling over there by the start-finish line, so I told them in the TV truck. So here I am on the left, right? There's the Mazda 2. Look at the wind! There I am, right at the back of the TV truck there. Yeah, I told them in the truck, I was like, look, because they wanted me to fly over by the start-finish line because, you know, it's cool looking and all that. But I was like, look, I cannot fly. Like, it's dangerous for me to fly over there. I'm getting kicked around too bad. So I just owned this street. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys this because it was just nutty, man. It was just so crazy to try. Like, I can't even fly across the intersection. Oh, it was so funny. Look at this. These are like the amateurs. I think they were just cruising around too. I don't even think they were racing, and they're going blowing by me. I was like, yo, what is this? So yeah, there's yeah, so here was my little area for the day. If you were following my Instagram stories, I posted a bunch of stuff. You already saw this, but yeah, here's one of the technical guys that was helping me out, and then I got my chargers and everything back here on this table. And then there's the back of the TV truck that I was all wired into. So yeah, it was pretty wild. So this guy here, like he's a cyclist, and this was really fun for me to watch this with audio, because he, like, from the first drone shot they cut to, he's like, oh my god, this is like, just hearing his reaction and his live chat's reactions to my flying was really cool. Yeah, it was just, he's like, man, this drone pilot's nuts. Look at him dodging power lines, and like, so it was really, really cool. And then he was saying, just like the announcers were saying, like, this is the way, man. We can really see people moving around. We can see them, like, the different teams working together and stuff. So, yeah, this was really fun for me to watch. And yeah, if you guys want to see how a really talented TV crew incorporates live drone flying into a sporting event, this is a really cool example of that. Let me throw the link in the chat for you guys, and there you go. Akash says, think you did a T-Motor Pacer review at a church park. Oh, okay, that's this mega church that's right down the street here. Yeah, that's like my testing spot. Hey! That's my testing spot. It's okay. I mean, it's just got a bunch of trees. Here in Atlanta, like, we're here in Atlanta, that church spot is like nothing. We have such amazing spots. You can kind of see from that shot that, like, even with the ducts taken off, this was with Gemfan 3520s. You can see that even with the ducts taken off, I was still, like, it was still a hell of a challenge. So I was really, I don't think it went back. Here it goes. I was flying very safe, like, but because, yeah, see, look at that. See me getting kicked around to the right there? So here's one of the side streets, right? And now it's pushing me over into the power lines, and I'm having to correct constant working with the cross breezes. So yeah, I was flying super safe because, yeah, I mean, I was just getting kicked around, and I would get pushed around at random times, so I really kept it very chill and very safe. And that's kind of what they wanted anyway. They didn't want, like, big gnarly freestyle, dives and flips and rolls and that kind of stuff. I also talked to a couple of the riders after the event. Anybody I could, like, any of the cyclists that I could, like, steal a second from, I'd be like, yo, hey, so, like, I was the drone op. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Like, were there any times that you felt like I was distracting you? Because I don't want that at all. Like, you're the subject. I want to be out of your way. And a couple of them gave me some really good feedback. Most of them were like, dude, oh my God, no, do exactly what you're doing. This is insane. But a couple of them were, the big feedback that I got that I loved was, when I stayed perfectly stable with them, they were totally cool, and, like, they didn't even really notice me, and it was all good. They said that if I was coming towards them, so, like, basically I would run down the street with them, and then I would turn around at turn 3, and then I would run up either the sidewalk, or sometimes I would elevator up and try to get them a shot of the rest of the pack going under. And they said they didn't like that. They said they didn't like when the drone was coming at them. So next time I do it, it's going to be if I can do it again, it's going to be riding with them and then going out onto the sidewalk or over the buildings and just flying back over the buildings so that there's no chance. And that makes sense, right? Like if it's coming towards you, like, that's no good. But when it's pacing you and, like, you're going 1 mile an hour faster than it, right? It's like, it seems totally in control. So that was really good feedback. I'm glad that I thought to ask those guys that, because, yeah, I don't want to be the reason that somebody gets distracted and wipes out or anything like that. Very obviously, or just, I just don't want them to be, like, nervous around it and, like, let it, affect their performance. So yeah, very cool. Let me get caught up on the chat here. Broken Soapbox says, as someone who only has a sim and a deep need to fly in 2022, what should I buy? Digital versus analog? Leaning towards digital. Radio, TZ16, Tango 2. Most of what I can find is from last year. Transmitter is all about your hands, Broken Soapbox. I have big, long fingers, so for me, it's somewhere. The FrSky QX7 is kind of the only transmitter that really fits with my big-ass hands. Most people don't have that problem, but, I mean, I don't know. The QX7 is a great radio, and it's super cheap. It's $100 brand new. You can probably find one used for like 50. I would maybe just snag one. Just snag like a cheap used radio, like a QX7 or oh god, what's the other one? X9D, the FrSky X9D. Those are like two old school, super solid, just like they totally work fine radios that you can probably pick up pretty cheap. And then down the road, when you meet some more pilots and try some and hold some other transmitters, you'll eventually find one that you really like the feel of, and then you can snag one of those. But for the time being, for your first gear, you're never gonna stick with it like for the whole time that you're in it. I mean, although I did, my QX7 that I run today after 5+ years is my very first transmitter. That was luck. I bought it because it was cheap. It just happened to work for my hands. Typically your first gear setup you're not going to keep forever. It's going to be a big learning experience. So don't stress too much about it. Just get it and go. Digital versus analog. Oh man, it's hard, right? Because analog is... So tiny whoops are going to be analog probably forever. I really doubt that they're going to be able to make the HD0 VTX any less than 4 grams. And 4 grams is too much of a weight penalty for a proper indoor tiny whoop. Tiny whoops are one of the ways that I learned how to fly. I got a ton of stick time in when I was new flying tiny whoops around my apartment. So I'm a big proponent of analog, and analog works fine on 5-inch rigs, right? We've flown analog for the first 6 or so years of the hobby, right? It totally works. I also don't really know if, in terms of like hardcore freestyle, analog is going to actually hold you back. It's really solid. It's very low latency. Yes, you can't see as far ahead as you can with digital, but yeah, I don't know. The best FPV flight edits ever have been flown on analog. Let's just be honest about that, right? Some great edits have also been flown on DJI, but yeah, I mean, like yeah, analog is totally fine, and it's cheaper, and it's more available, and it's going to give you the tiny whoop option. So I guess if you have no interest in tiny whoops whatsoever, maybe go digital from day one. If you're on a budget or you care about having a tiny whoop, I would go analog initially, and then down the road you can swap over to DJI. They've got like a V3 goggle coming out, so right now is not necessarily a great time to jump on DJI, so maybe there's a little push for analog, but I have a really hard time recommending analog for somebody that's brand new because it just takes the whole tiny whoop thing out of the equation, and tiny whoop has a lot of benefits. You can get an awful lot of stick time on tiny whoops, and it's not the same as 5-inch rigs, but stick time is stick time when you're new. So yeah, I wish I had a more definitive answer for you, but I don't really think there is a definitive answer. If someone's giving you a definitive answer, be wary of that person, because they're not giving you the whole story, right? So there you go. Gamma Gonad says the wind makes it look like your first flight ever. I know, right? This is with a banging tune too. Shout out to Brandon's Baked Beans for the tune that's on this rig with the ducts taken off. In like eventually in this women's race, the wind did die down to only about 20 miles an hour, yeah, with the ducts taken off on Gemfan 3520s, Brandon's Baked Beans tune. There you go. There it is. Look how smooth that is. And look, there's the flag. The flag is still banging around, but Brandon knows what's up. Here I am. Look. Whee! There he is. Hey, little guy. That's the coolest thing for me. The coolest thing for me is seeing the trackside, tripoded cameras pointing down between turns 2 and 3, and me just tracking along with the riders. That's the coolest thing for me, because yeah, I mean, I never get to see my drones in the air, right? Like none of us really ever do. So that's I love that. Those shots were, there was what was it, camera 3 was halfway down that straight, so he'd be pointing up towards turn 2, and there's certain shots where you would see me just come banking around the corner. It was really cool. Really cool stuff. Yeah, shout out to Brandon's Baked Beans, just Brandon Beans. He charges $1 a minute for tuning. It is well worth it. If you need tuning, he's your guy. Super talented, awesome human being. Hit him up if you need some tuning. Metal Dirksen says, I built my Tooth Fairy 2 with MR30 connectors so I could swap it to 5-inch arms. Might have been handy in this situation. That's an interesting idea. I would not have wanted bigger props. I'm really like turning over in my head how I'm going to build. I want to build a specific rig for this that's not like a Cinewhoop with the ducts removed. And so I got to figure out what frame, what motors. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a 3-inch rig, a really tight 3-inch rig for the smallest possible footprint so that it's as slippery as possible. I feel like that's the best. I don't know. It's an interesting kind of like little engineering challenge, trying to figure out what would be the best possible rig for, you know, to stay sub 250. The payload is a DJI or a Caddx Vista and that camera. So yeah, and I want it to be as small and light as possible. God forbid I, you know, clip one of these guys or I go down. I want it to be as, you know, avoidable as possible, and or somebody just grabs it and picks it up, or I turtle mode it over and get the hell out of there. So yeah, I'm thinking about that. That's a cool metal. That's right. I never even thought about doing connectors on a rig that has different arm options available. That's a really cool idea. I really dig that. Mikhail says, yes, how do you live? I would love to do that. Super fun, man. Brandon's Bean says, those drone shots of the race get my pulse racing. Super exciting. Yeah, man, it was wild. 661 says, what, no split S? I did a couple split S and dives, and they didn't take any of those shots. We call it like, we call it basically like what we do, what cameramen do, although that's what I was at this event, is you like sell shots to the producer. So the producer had 14 or 15 cameras. I was number 13. So all day long, every single camera person is constantly getting the best possible shot that they can, and you're selling that shot to the producer, and then the producer chooses of all those which shots he takes, and you're on comms with them, so they'll, you know, you'll hear, like I was camera 13, so I'll hear like ready 13. That means that means that his button pusher basically puts me on the B monitor. And he's getting ready to hit the button to put me live. So it's a little, the split S thing is difficult because like I can't talk to them while I'm flying, because we're on one big channel. So it's the producer with 14 camera people, right? So the cameramen don't really talk back to the producer. The producer just talks out at everyone. And it's a constant, I mean, it's just constant. It's, you know, camera 5, tighten up, camera 3 out of focus, just bang, 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 rapid fire. So the split S thing, like typically I would have to line up a shot and leave it for like a couple of seconds for him to see it, put it up, ready 13, take 13, and then he would grab me. So like a split S, he's not going to know that I'm going to do it. I would have to somehow be on comms with him and be like, hey, split S coming up, take, you know, take my camera and I'll do it. And then it would be like, you know, ready 13, take 13, bang, big split S down. And I mean, to be honest, that's not really what they're looking for. Like, it's super gnarly and all, right, for us, and like we love it, of course, but they're looking for Steadicam stuff, right? They're like the bikers are the subject, the flying is not the subject. So like, yeah, it would have like super wow factor and all, but what they're looking for is me looking at the pack to see them kind of moving around, to see the strategy, stuff like that. So I tried to sell them. I tried to sell them a couple of split S's, but they never took them. And after a couple times, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna bother doing that anymore. But it kind of, I would do them when it made sense, because like, I would do them when the wind was really heavy, because it would they would haul ass down, and then they would have a tailwind on the way up between turn 4 and 1, so they would get back up to turn 2 a lot faster than I expected, and I would still be kind of flying back because I just had like a rhythm. And then all of a sudden I would see him coming around the corner, I'd be like, ah, shit, because I'm like, you know, 100 feet up, and I would just throw it down and let it dive right down on top of him. It was super fun. But yeah, it's tough for a live broadcast, because like I said, you've got to have like a good shot for a couple of seconds for them to notice it, ready that camera, and then cut to that camera. We got, I will say this, we really started to get into a rhythm once I was like 30 or 40 batteries in. We really started to understand each other. I realized that I could say yes and no with the quad, so he could talk to me through the intercom, and then I could pitch up and down for yes, or I would roll back and forth for no. And I would also roll back and forth when I needed to come in for a battery. That I figured that out because I knew that if I was rocking back and forth, there was no way in hell he would take he would ready and then take that camera. It happened once though. I rocked back and forth. He must not have seen it, and then I came in to land to switch batteries, and all of a sudden I hear take 13. I'm like, no, and I'm just ducking down in on myself, and then he really quickly cuts out of that, and he actually cut to a camera that was at the start finish line that had no riders on it either. So it's like the 1 minute in the live stream where you're like, what the fuck is going on? The drone is landing, and then they cut to like no riders on the front, just empty front straight, and then they finally take camera 4, which is the corner. So it was whatever, but it was so funny because like he didn't he gave me the ready 13, and I said no, and I rocked it back and forth, and he must not have been looking, and then I thought I was clear, and I started to come into land, and I just heard take 13. I was like, there was nothing I could do. Like I couldn't, like the battery was pretty low. I couldn't have like turned real quick and gone out, and it would have looked ridiculous anyway. So I'm like, fuck, this one's blowing. But that was actually like the only time that like we got a little bit out of sync. And it was cool, man. I didn't talk about this yesterday, but the rhythm that we kind of developed, and the shorthand that we developed, and all these things towards the end, yeah, we started to really get... So this is the woman's race. By this point, I was like 30, 40 batteries in. So we had already kind of developed this rhythm. So when he cuts to me in this part of the live stream here, it's like fluid, and like I'm either coming around the corners. I made it a point to just not give him the same shot every time. I would give him like a different approach. My turn 2, it had like, you know, it's a town, so the streets are all like this, right? So like I would, like on one run, you know, I would see them coming around, and I would this is turn 2, and they're turning here and they're going down. So sometimes I would set up here, high elevation. I would see them out of the corner of my view, and then I would drop elevation down, and I would link right up with them as they came around the corner. And then other times I would go on the side street over here, so I could come in. I would be flying straight at them. I could come in, and then we would both make the corner, and that looked. I love those shots. And then towards the end of the day, actually, I realized that I could fly all the way over here. So I would fly all the way down to turn 3, and I would come back over the buildings, and then I could link back up with them. I would like race them back. Like they're coming down here, they're charging up here. I'm like racing them back. And then I would pick them up as they were in between turns 1 and 2, and I would drop down on them. That was amazing because they bank, right? Like the bikes bank just like us. And in the truck, they were freaking out the first time I did it. I came down and I linked up with them, and we all banked at the same time around the corner. And I could hear the truck like explode, and he was like, "Oh, Aaron, that looks so cool." So we just ran this little bank together, and then we both stood back up. It was wild. Yeah, that was really cool when I realized that I could, because there was like this perfect gap in the buildings, and my signal just blasted right through. It was really, really slick. Towards the end of the day, I realized that I could have probably, like high elevation, I probably could have chased them around the entire thing, but like I was saying yesterday, they had really good coverage on the front straight between turns 4 and 1. They had a big boom arm, a big gimbaled cam on a boom arm, which kind of looks like a drone, because it's got that full fluid motion. You can look up and down and all around. So there really wasn't any reason for me to try to stick with them the entire way, and that would have just murdered the batteries even worse. After I would break off from them on turn 3, I would like limp it back. I would fly it as efficiently as I possibly could on the way back, and that was how I was able to get 2 or 3 runs, even with the 20-30 mile an hour headwind the entire time. So, yeah. Mechanicurn says, I bought a used Beta FPV 95X with bad flight controller gyro, ticks on idle, blew up on throttle. Do you think I should buy a stock flight controller ESC or just use any 26 millimeters? I think Mechanicurn asked this on Joshua's stream before. Joshua gave you the right answer. Yeah, I mean, any AIO, yeah, exactly what Joshua said. Any AIO is going to work. If you get something that's not Beta FPV, it's probably going to work better. So yeah, Joshua's answer was dialed in. I would go. I have the same answer for you. Cash says you were flying 3-inch ES at the gig. I think 5-inch quads would handle the wind right. I mean, it depends. Yes, I was flying all sub 250 because I was over, riders. The riders were all, they all signed the waiver. So if I'd hit them, they can't really say shit. But still, I don't want that to happen. And to be honest, they don't go that fast. Like a 5-inch rig would have just been bombing past them. The sub 250 rigs are fucking perfect for these bikes. Like the cruising speed was almost perfectly matched, as you can see here. Like this is I'm pretty nose down because of the headwind. If it weren't for the headwind, it would have been even nicer. I would have had to put less camera up tilt on. This was with like damn near 30 degrees of camera up tilt. But again, with that headwind, I mean, I needed that. So I didn't actually change my up tilt at all during this event, which I was pretty shocked about. I was really tempted to go a little bit lower camera angle. But again, I wanted to leave everything alone that I possibly could to be as safe as possible, because I was getting the shit kicked out of me by the wind. And the other problem is that the wind was swirling. Like the wind was hitting these buildings, and there were spots where it would be swirling, and like the flag was making some really weird stuff happen with the wind. So I just changed nothing, and I just like stayed totally locked in on like the same gear setup all day, so that I would be as safe and as dialed in as I possibly could. Riot9 with a $4.20, the weed number, Australian dollar dues. He says, stance glides, house lands, and what cam? I'm doing Foxier Predator 4 Nanos, and slammed on 15 millimeter standoffs. I actually have to do a little order for some standoffs. That reminds me. Let me open up. Well, I guess I can get them from anywhere. Yeah, whatever. I can get them from anywhere. It's fine. Everybody has... Pyro Drone has 20... They're the only shop that has 23mm standoffs, but pretty much everybody has 15mm standoffs. And the Slam glides are on 15s. Thanks, Riot, for the generosity, my man. The other part of Akash's question is very interesting. I think 5-inch quads would handle the wind. I mean, maybe. It's a really interesting... So, I mean, 5-inch rigs would not wobble in the wind as much because 5-inch rigs just fly better. Like, there's been more R&D done on the 5-inch prop size, so the motors are perfectly suited to the weight and the size and the drag of the propellers. But 5-inch props are a much bigger parachute. It's a much bigger area that's going to get hit by the wind. Yes, they're heavier, but it could be a wash, really. I think, in my head, I could totally be wrong, but in my head, in terms of not getting pushed around by the wind, the only thing that really matters is like the weight to propeller size ratio. But I don't really think it matters that much. I think that pretty much regardless, when our rigs get hit by headwind or side wind or tailwind, they're going to get shoved around. I don't really think that, like, that, you know, if I ran like a 100-gram heavier battery, that I'm not totally convinced that it would help all that much. I feel like, you know, when these things are armed and they're flying through the air, the surface area of the rig, as well as the column of air above and below that's being pushed around, like, that's gonna catch any external wind, and that's what's gonna push you around. I really don't feel like adding weight is gonna make that much of a difference. That being said, you know, like a toothpick, which is way off the other end of the bottom end of that scale, toothpicks have a hard time in the wind, but I don't know. That would be an interesting test to kind of do. Is to put like a really big heavy battery on a 3-inch rig and send it out for one of these and see how it's affected by the wind. But I don't know. That'd be tough, man. There'd be so much placebo. It's like, how do you really tell what's better or what's worse, right? So yeah, for me, I'm not really worried about that. I'm going to keep whatever rigs that I fly for these guys at sub 250 so that I'm, you know, not worried about the FAA. And also because it's going to be a lot safer and cheaper and smaller, and really there's no reason to have anything bigger when the payload is basically 10 grams, right? That's the extra weight of a DJI Vista and camera versus an analog setup, right? So yeah, I'm going to keep it nice and light, as safe as I can. And again, that sub 250 rig beautifully matches the speed of these cyclists, and that's a big deal. Like, there's kind of no reason to have a 5-inch death machine here with them, because there's just no reason to go 100 miles an hour, right? I feel like sub 250 is the right tool for this job. Bobby Bag says, did they use the smart controller to get you live? I did indeed. Joshua Bardwell, huge shout out. Let me borrow his. You can actually see the stupid little watermark that DJI forces on you with the smart controller, which the TV truck was not happy about. They did not like that watermark. But I was just like, you know, I'm sorry, there's just nothing I can do. DJI is, you know, are Nazis. So yeah, I talked to Joshua about it actually, and he's going to send me his Axis box. And I don't know, like, I love that. I would love it if the Axis, so the issue actually that I was having with the smart controller is that it doesn't seem like it's all that stable. Like every few batteries, this thing was jamming and like freezing up, and I was having to turn the power all the way off on this thing and all the way back on, and it takes a while to reboot. So I don't know what the deal. I mean, DJI should be ashamed of themselves for charging $800 for something just for us to get HDMI out, and the fucking thing freezes like that every couple batteries. That's shameful, man. Like, they should be beat with a rubber hose for that shit. But you know, so I love the idea of the Axis box because there's no screen to just, you know, to pull on a battery or anything like that, and it's just there, and in theory maybe it's more reliable. But the problem so if the Axis box is 100% solid and always works, that's fine. But if it jams up like this, that's a big problem. Like, right, are they running on the same software and the software is the problem? I don't know. Having the screen on this, I didn't need it or like it because it kills the battery, but with the fact that this thing was freezing all the time, I needed the screen to see whether or not it was frozen so that I didn't go up in the air and the TV truck is just getting a static image. So, you know, with the Axis box, I would like really need to test the shit out of it, right, to make sure it's 100% locked in every single time I unplug, replug, change battery, whatever, that it comes back up. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And I assume that there it is. See, look, there it is. DJI Digital FPV System goggle feed, right? Can't remove that. Can't take that off. What is that about? I assume that the Axis box won't have a... There I was. There's your boy. There we go. Whee! That's the coolest shit ever. Whee! There he is. Little guy. Yeah. I assume the Axis box doesn't have that watermark. The TV guys would love that. But I'd be afraid, right? I would be afraid that, like, because it's very difficult for me to talk to the truck. It's almost impossible for me to talk to the truck. And I also don't want to be talking to the truck because again, you know, like I said earlier, the producer is talking to all 14, 15, 16 camera people, not the other way around. I don't want to be clogging that channel up every 5 minutes. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It would just be drone going up. And then if they didn't have a feed, they could say, yo, we got no feed from you. And then I could come back down. But I would rather not. Yeah, I don't know. I would rather troubleshoot my own stuff, right? And like know that when I take off that I have video. At that point, I need to hook up an external screen to the Axis box. And then... and that's just like another thing and another power supply and all this. And, you know, now I'm thinking about... it's looking like they're going to hire me for the next 9 events, and they're not in Atlanta, they're not in Alabama, they're in, you know, Rochester, New York, and Colorado, and so now I got to fly with stuff, and now keeping my gear set up as slimmed down as possible becomes really important. So I feel like an Android tablet is going to be the best bet, but that scares me a little bit too, because, you know, is that going to be dead nuts reliable, or is that going to be a nightmare, which is what I've heard from most people that use Android phones. So yeah, I got to think about it some more. I'm super happy that Joshua is sending me that Axis box because I can play around with that, because that would be the slickest, simplest, you know, lightest weight kind of setup. I could probably like rig a little setup on me with goggles, USB cord down my shirt, Axis box in my pocket, and then HDMI directly into the Axis box. The TV truck can hook me up with drops all over the place. So they can hook me up with HDMI drops in multiple locations, and then I can walk around and fly different parts of the course from different locations. That would be really cool. That would be really, really, really slick. They hook me up with a bunch of drops with HDMI cables ready to go. I walk around, bang, plug into my pocket where the access box is, away we go. So I would love that, but yeah, I would have to figure out a better comms setup for them. And what I might be able to do is get a headset going with a boom mic, and then figure out a way to get, back in airsoft days, the slickest comm setup that we ever had was a little in-ear, in just one ear, so that we could use our other ear to hear people coming to try to hunt us. And then we ran a cable down our arm that we would clip to the inside of our BDUs, and we could reach down and trigger it. And there was a microphone in that, so we'd be able to bring that up to our, if we're like prone, buried, we could just bring our hand up to our mouth and blah, 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 blah. Something like that, where I had the trigger on my hand, but then a boom mic, I assume that would be the slickest way to do it. Because I could, in theory, do that while I was on the sticks talking to them, right? I could just put the rig into a hover, take my left hand off, trigger the mic, talk to the truck, and then come back on, right? Or I just have a PA with me. But they were not, the gigs that I've filmed 4K on, there's PAs everywhere. At this live flying thing, there really aren't PAs at all. Everybody has a very specific kind of job. So yeah, I don't know if that would be realistic, them having a PA standing with me all day, for the entire event. Although I would love that. I would love to have a PA, because then I don't have to manage my own batteries. I can show them how to keep the batteries on boil. 10 4S 850s was plenty, as long as there were always 3 or 4 or 5 charging. I was charging them at 10 amps. Typically there were 4 or 5 batteries on there, so that's 2 to 3S. Not terrible. And I was able to stay up the entire time. So yeah, we'll see. That might be, I might pitch that to them and be like, look, I need at every one of these events, you got to hire somebody from college to stand with me. I can show them how to charge batteries, and they just need to be my mouth, right? Like I talk to them, and then they talk to you guys on the radio. So we'll see. I'm trying to figure that out. What would be the best way of kind of doing that? Abraham says, I hate myself for saying it too, but digital for the win. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. If DJI weren't such shitbags, it wouldn't be so hard. I'll say that. Okay, let me, I'm way behind on chat. Let me stop ranting and raving, and we'll try to get caught up on chat. Broken Soapbox says, very much appreciated, way more than I was hoping for. Great food for thought. Tiny Whoop will definitely be on my shopping list. You're certainly welcome, Broken Soapbox. I haven't seen your name before. If you're new here, welcome. Stay a while. Hey, this is my full-time job. Broken, thanks for the opportunity to shill. This is my full-time job. If you would like to support me on this crazy adventure that is full-time FPV, which is a little rough, I gotta be honest, but it's super fun, head on over to CiottiFPV.com. I rely on support from beautiful people like you to keep these live streams going for 8 to 10 hours a week, every single week. There's a Patreon. That's where you're gonna get the most bang for your buck. $3 whole a month. That's 10 cents a day. You can join. Tons of benefits. You get access to the Discord channel. You get access to the Stick and Dick End Fund, which is one of every single stick end that you'll get to try. It's all explained over on the Discord channel that you'll get access to as a patron. Etsy store with some really cool stuff. Fiverr page with some cool stuff. Teespring store with some cool stuff, and a whole bunch of affiliate links. If you're ordering FPV stuff, or if you're ordering on Amazon and you use my affiliate link, I get free money. 1 to 6% of your total order for nothing. It's free money. It's really important for those of us that create content to be able to keep doing what we're doing. So think of us content creators when you're ordering FPV stuff, because maybe we have an affiliate link. All you have to do is click our affiliate link before you check out, and you're good to go. We will get free money. and then we will piss it away on more stuff to test and bring you fresh content. Paul McDonald says, PayPal, will a wobbly bell cause a decent amount of jello on a 5-inch? Yes, Paul, absolutely. Bent motor shafts, which is what create the wobbling bell, will cause jello, and they'll also cause just like mayhem in the tune itself. If you guys don't want to do super chats, you can jump on the CiottiFPV.com, scroll down, and there's a PayPal button. Super chats, Google, YouTube take 30% of. PayPal, nothing. Paul McDonald sent $5 via PayPal. Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, absolutely, Paul. Wobbly bell will cause jello. Typically, like a slightly wobbly bell won't, but as they get worse and worse, it'll absolutely create jello. One of the things I love about the T-Motor F40 Pro 4 is that you can buy replacement bells. You don't have to buy an entire replacement motor. And yeah, you're gonna, when you start crashing hard, you're gonna go through a lot of bells. Let me give you a visual. This is, I started collecting broken bells in this little miniature shopping carts about 2 years ago. This does not represent all of the broken bells. This is just from when I started to collect them. So yeah, you're gonna go through a lot of them. Let's go back to the. Let's go back to some of this footage. See, now it's starting to get dark. So this is the women's race. They've got 9 laps to go. I flew all the way to the end of the women's race, and I flew the first lap of the men's pro race. But then there was a really nasty wipeout. I've found out. Jesus. So the guy wiped out, and I don't know if I talked about this yesterday, but on on turn 3 of the very first lap of the men's race, the pro men's race, with 90 riders, 90 fucking riders, it was wild. On turn 3, 2 guys touched tires, I think, and one of them got thrown into the steel barriers really hard, and the men were just screaming. They were really fast. And he broke his shoulder, not like his clavicle. He broke his shoulder, and he broke 3 bones in his face. And so, like, it happened. I was chasing the leaders, and it happened right behind me. So I didn't catch it at all. But there was a huge pileup, and I swooped back to catch the pileup, and then a bunch of the cameras turned towards it. And there was about 30 or so seconds of like camera coverage of it. But then I did talk about this yesterday, but then on one of the cameras that they cut to, you could see his foot like vibrating like really violently, like uncontrolled, like really hurt, when you're really hurt. And that's when the guys in the truck were like, all cameras get off. And they cut away from him, and they didn't show him at all. After that was really scary. But he was okay. Man, his helmet was trashed. It was scary, man. I like the whole, like, these guys unfortunately get hit by cars a lot because they practice on public roads, and 99% of people are the worst drivers ever. I never really thought about it in a race like this. Like, I've seen them all pile up and wipe out, but then they all get up and ride away. I never really thought that somebody could get that hurt. It was really nasty. I think he also hit the curb. I think that he got tossed off, and he went down into the curb and into the metal railing. One of the guys said they thought he might have gotten impaled, but I don't think he did. He didn't put that on his Instagram story, but fuck, man, that was really scary. Like that, yeah, that was super creepy. They red flagged the race and everything. Like and then it took so long and they backboarded him out of there, an ambulance and like the whole deal. They stopped the entire race. It took like 15 or 20 minutes, and by the time they restarted the race, it was just a little bit too dark. And I walked into the truck. I was like, look, we're in this gray area between like civil twilight and like actual dark, and like, you know, the FAA says I can't fly beyond civil twilight. And the guys in the truck were like, done. We're not messing. Great job. Love it. And that was that. And I'm like, okay. These are the people that I want to work with. So, yeah, that was scary, but it turned out okay. He's still in the hospital, but, you know, he didn't get impaled. He didn't die. How the hell? I mean, I guess his face is just gonna hurt like hell, right? You can't put a cast on his head. I guess his face will just hurt like hell for months while the bones. Although, dude, break your shoulder? Oh, what? A broke, like, I don't know. I mean, that's yeesh. Metadurkin says, which DJI cam was in this rig? I made it a point to put the good ones, the silver, you know, like OG DJI cams in both of the Cinesplores. Well, no, in the one Cinesplore and in the Tooth Fairy 2, because I was pretty sure that these were the rigs that I was going to be flying. So yeah, that all of that was the, you know, coveted silver DJI camera. And I think one of these is definitely the Caddx version of it, but I think one of these is the actual OG DJI one when they were still making it. I lost track of where that camera went. I thought that I left the sticker on top of that camera, but maybe not. Yeah, I guess I took it off. Yeah, that camera is now lost in the mix. Maybe there's not. Maybe there's no difference. I don't really know. Look how dark it was getting here. There's an elevation drop. The truck was loving those. That's the guy that hired me to do this, who was the live stream announcer, Brad. When he hired me to do this, I was a little hesitant at first. And I'm like, you know, how close are like what? Give me an idea of like the kind of shots that you're looking for. Like how close do you want me to be getting? And he was like, no, we're just looking for like the words that he used are swooping shots. So I was giving them a lot of kind of swoopy shots. But man, they were loving like the in close stuff too. Like the truck was going wild for that stuff. So I was mixing and matching, so that they had a lot of variety. So and they seemed to dig that. I was worried that they were just gonna want top down the entire time, just chase the group. But they really dug the lower elevation stuff. It basically what I was doing is like I was either putting myself like 40 feet above where I knew the power lines were. I spent a lot of time scouting out every single power line and figuring out like, all right, this set of power lines is connected to this top of the building. This building is 4 stories high, and then it comes down to a regular telephone pole, and then up here. So like I had a really clear idea of exactly where the power lines were and what elevation they were at. So I would either keep myself like well above them or well below them. And that worked extremely well. This guy commenting on the live stream, he's like, how's this guy avoiding the power lines? I'm sitting here watching, and I'm like, I'm so far away from them, dude. Like, because he's like, oh, this guy's nuts. This guy's crazy. I'm like, no, like this is. So I actually left a comment on this. I was like, yo, this was safe flying, bro. Hit my channel for some nutty shit. So yeah, it was, this whole experience has been wild, man. This has been a hell of a couple of days. Got to spend a ton of time with Maggie, last night and today. I'm a very lucky guy. I'm a very, very lucky guy. A year ago, if you'd told me that these 3 days would have been this, I would have been absolutely certain that you were high on the crack cocaine. But I don't know. I just put my head down and just charged headfirst through the divorce and everything else that was exploding, mainly mental health stuff. And I don't know. I just kept going. Just keep going. You just gotta. It's the only way. Just put your head down. We're only here once. We're only here for so long. Push yourself. There's lots of crazy shit that you can be doing. You just gotta go out and get it. Gotta go out and grab it with both hands. Grab it. All right. I said that I was gonna get caught up on chat and stop ranting, and then I went on a big half an hour rant. Here we go. CiottiFPV says, I got into whoops after I learned to fly and built my first one before I learned to fly, but everyone learns different. It's so true. Your path, every single one of your paths is going to be completely different, and that's part of the beauty of FPV. Abraham says, well done. Thank you, dude. Metal Dirtskin says, maybe think about the QAVS 4-inch dead cat. It fits the Vista better and has no props in view. That was actually, Metal, great minds think alike, apparently. That was the very first rig that I thought of. Like, on my drive home, when the wheels were turning, that was the very first rig that I thought of. Yeah, I might very well go that route. It kind of bums me out that I built one and then I did a giveaway for it because I was like, oh, I'm not going to use this thing. But whatever. Yeah, I think I might actually. Oh no, I just did. I just did a giveaway for one too. Shit, like a couple days ago actually. Or last week rather, I did a giveaway for another one. I didn't have the 4-inch arms with it. It's fine. So yeah, that's a maybe on that one. I'm I don't know. I'm having a hard time deciding. I feel like it might be smarter to just build another Cinesplorer or another Tooth Fairy 2. Because I can put the ducts on and off, and they're not like that much heavier than. Oh, that's a good one there. Oh, this was the shot that they all lost their mind over, and you can also see me getting kicked around by the wind again here. Look at this. Right, so I got myself set up over here, and here I'm getting ready for the wind. Here's one of the cross streets. Boom, it starts to push me back, and this, you can see the flag was more of a headwind on this one. I didn't get pushed as hard, so I was able to stay on the right side of them, which was really, really nice. I was used to getting kicked back over to the left side there, and then I think the shot gets really good here. I think this is the lap, so there's 3 laps to go here. I think, did they cut back to me here, or is it the next? Yeah, this is a nice one here. Look at this little slide. Ready? I was so pissed that I didn't realize I could do this until late. Look, right? I had this open field here. Oh, yeah. The truck went nuts for that one. They were like, oh, do that next time. Do that again. Do that again. That was cool. Yeah, there was just that big field. I could have... Yeah, I was being very safe. The wind was really freaking me out, and it was the first time doing it, and like, you know, there was a lot of like, I was just being super safe, and I really hope I get to do it again because, man, the possibilities are just endless for the different kind of oh man, I can't wait to do this next year because Brad said he almost was able to get me up on the rooftop. And if I'd been able to get up on the rooftop, I could have chased him around the whole thing and we could have done some wild stuff. I could have like come out of alleyways and picked him up. Yeah, there's some cool things that we might be able to do with this. Riot 9 says, link your damn Discord in the description, please. It is linked on my website, so just go to CiottiFPV.com and it's there. But when you join Patreon, you get full Discord access, and I don't know. I feel like I should. I feel like I should have Discord be only a Patreon benefit, like Joshua. That's what Joshua does, and I love that idea. But I don't know. I have not had it set up like that, and I feel weird like taking that away. I don't know, but it's on my website. Gree says, how much time would it take for the smart controller to start feeding to HDMI from when you plugged the quad in? It was pretty quick when it didn't freeze up. When it froze up, it was like a 60-second plus penalty. But yeah, from when it wouldn't freeze up, it would pick up the quad pretty quick. I don't know, maybe like within 10 seconds, I guess, if I had to guess. Greg Gerber says, sorry if you already talked about this, but how do you feel about the AOS 3.5? Seems like it might be good for this bike filming gig. It's an interesting frame. I've heard from a couple people I trust that from a serviceability standpoint, it's a little bit of a nightmare, and that's like a deal breaker for me. I also have a feeling that there's props in view. It's not like a dead cat frame. So and that's, I can't have that. I can't have props in view. That's what makes the QAVS 4-inch dead cat a really interesting option. And I would just run 3.5-inch props on it because they performed really, really well. So here's the final lap. This is really cool. So I'm like fully in the zone by now. Everybody's going nuts. I can hear the fucking crowd screaming and yelling. The truck is the pacing in the truck is starting to pick up. Everybody's getting excited, and I put together and I just kind of went for it. I picked him up on that straight, rocked with him through the corner. Ready? Here you guys go. Got ready, got my, to the left, pointed myself to the right to get ready for that wind, and then this wind, and it didn't kick me, and I was like, done. And I just put it on the corner here, and just pace these guys in the in the truck. The producer's like, oh, Aaron, yes, yes, yes. And then he cuts away, and then I knew he was going to cut back, and here we go. And then coming into the last corner, I was all hooked up with him. Oh, this is so cool. This is so sick. And I tried to do that. I was hoping that he wouldn't be with me here because I wanted to do this run again, and I nailed it one more time and let a bunch of the group come by. He was asking me to let guys come out of the frame a little bit more often. So yeah, there you go. That was the last lap of the women's race. And then, like I said, I only got to fly the very first lap of the men's race. And that was and that was it for me. But I did get, there's a little bit here of them kind of slowing down. I really quickly threw another battery in, and them, I just got him some eye candy, basically, is what he kept calling it. He's like, Aaron, eye candy? I'm like, cool. So yeah, I got a little hover here, just kind of getting him celebrating and hanging out. And then, there we go. Yeah, this was cool because I was like, man, now I can really play. And he cut away. I was so pissed he cut away from me because I threw my classic little yaw spin, and then I flew backwards down the street with them coming at me. And like I tried to get that flat yaw in there as quick as I could because I knew I knew as soon as they came off out of my view, he was gonna cut away. And I'm like, oh man, it was so cool. I just backed it right down the street. They were going nice and slow, and I just backed it really low elevation down the street. I'd been down the street 100 times at that point, so I knew all of my reference points to be able to fly down the middle. I'm like, oh, dude. But yeah, I'll if I get to do this again, these are like the kind of conversations that I want to have with them about, like, hey, here's some other stuff that I can do. Here's what it's going to look like. Like if you see me like generate a bunch of momentum next to them, don't cut away because I'm going to flip around and I'm going to fade backwards and let them come towards me and come ripping past me. Oh man, if I get to do this again, this could be so nuts. The whole cycling community is already like losing their mind about this. So I have a feeling I'll get to do this again, but I don't want to get, super excited and then disappointed. Kinetic FPV says, are you going to get one of those video transmitters for a GoPro? Probably not, Kinetic. Putting a GoPro and then a video transmitter on it, that's like probably about a 300 gram weight penalty, and so that brings me up above 250, and it just adds a whole lot of complexity. The DJI system performed flawlessly. They loved the quality. These are live streams, so they get compressed to hell anyway. If you watch this live stream full screen, there is no difference, in my opinion, between the FPV feed and these like TV, mega $100,000+ cameras that they have on the corners. Even if there is a little bit of a quality difference, like the quality of the shot that I'm getting with the drone is so much better than the static cameras that even if the quality isn't quite as good, nobody cares, right? Like, that's the magic thing about FPV, is that the shots that we get are so exciting and so, like, incredible that nobody is pixel peeping going like, I see it's only 720, this is not watchable, right? Like, nobody's doing that. It's just, the reactions that we get are, oh my fucking God, how did he do that, right? So they had no interest in anything beyond DJI, and I certainly don't. Like, if I can stay sub 250, simple, easy DJI setup, all day, baby. Nice and, like, you know, locked in, simple, elegant, lightweight, safe. Thumbs up from me. Apache Smoke. Plus, the other problem, and actually, the video transmitter for the GoPro, that only works on a Hero 5 or like a Hero 6, and I think the damn things only do 720 anyway. So it probably wouldn't look any better, and there'd be a humongous weight and performance penalty. So and then I'd be on a 5-inch rig, and like, ooh, that'd be a nightmare. I think that this is it, man. I think it's Cinesplores. The Tooth Fairy 2 performed really well, but it's nowhere near as serviceable as the Cinesplore. And the only reason why I kept running the Tooth Fairy 2 is that this has the higher KV motors on it. This has the Axis 2004 3710 KV motors, and fuck me, I needed that KV to beat that wind. I had the Cinesplore. I've put one battery up on the Cinesplore on the 3000 kV Newbie Drone 2004s, and I was flat. I was flat to the floor to try to get down there. Whereas this rig, I was pushing it pretty good, but I had a little bit of extra power from the extra kV. So I have a funny feeling that I'm just gonna build another Cinesplore and get another set of the Axis motors. And just, for now, I'll probably get the Axis motors. Rugi's got a, Rugi is making me some 2104s, some of his 2104s in a jacked up KV, I think 3500. So those are what, if he makes those, and he said he's gonna, if he remembers to make those, I'll move all these Cinesplores. I would love them to have them all on the same motor. So yeah, fingers crossed for that. Actually, let me actually remind him of that, because he said his next motor order wasn't going to be for a couple of weeks. And it's been a couple of weeks, and I don't expect him to, remember little old me. View main profile. Come on. Message. Any word on the higher KV 2104s? Awesome. All right, cool. So, what's going on in the chat? Man, I gotta stop being so verbose and get caught up in the chat. I'm reading chat comments from 10:37 and it's 11:20. Layman Board says, what camera were you flying and what transmitter was on the quad? If it was transmitting live, we already talked about that. DJI. Apache Smoke says, good morning, what's up? Jason Crabtree says, I've been dying to get somebody to chase me with a quad while I bomb some really big descents on my bike. That's some good footage you got. Thank you, dude. If you ever do that stuff in Atlanta, hit me up. I'd love to. Mechanic Kern with a 20 Nokia Super Chat. He says, thanks, had to ask the king too. Oh yeah, we're talking about the AIO. Yeah, don't get a beta FPV AIO. Get any other. But Mechanic Kern, look at whatever AIO you get. Look at like where the pads are. Look at where the USB port is. Try to get it as similar to the beta FPV's pad layout and USB layout, so that you don't run into issues like, you can't plug the fucking USB in without taking like the whole thing apart, stuff like that. So pay attention to that. Xenakis is in the house of FPV Exchange. If you guys aren't using FPV Exchange, what are you doing with your life? Get on over there. Akash Jenna says, where I live in Canada, it's super windy. Even on normal days, wind has been irritating me quite a bit. Heavier rigs get pushed around a little less. Really want to fight the damn winds. Yeah, wind is rough. Flying in the wind is really rough. When it's not in a situation like this, I kind of like it. Like freestyle flying in the wind, I find to be fun because you can play with it. Like you can figure out the directionality of the wind, and like you can just do different stuff. Like you can get your rig to almost hover, right? And it'll be looking down and it's like, wait, how is he hovering? And then you can come around the other way and surf the wind and go like real fast, real flat. So yeah, you can play around with the wind, or you can use it to like let you slide sideways. I was trying to do that with these guys. What was killing me was the swirling winds and the fact that it was coming down the side streets. But every once in a while I would get like a nice solid sideways wind and I would just run it sideways, and I could just frame the bikers up and just skid down the street at like a 45-degree angle and just keep them perfectly in frame without having to roll all the way over, right? I'd be able to stay nice and flat and just use the wind. So yeah, work with it if possible. It is a pain in the ass though, especially because it's invisible. Bobby Bag says, what about the new DigiView app on your Android phone? Could that work to stream live? We talked about that a little bit. I'm very interested in that. My worry is that app is not going to be bulletproof, but the smart controller was anything but was not bulletproof at all. So if it's not any worse than the smart controller, then that's a really good solution, right? Because I can probably pick up an Android tablet pretty cheap on Facebook Marketplace, right? Frank Nicholas says, you're mistaken about the purpose of the DJI Smart Controller. It is for the Mavic Pros as a controller/display. Goggle FPV out came later. I don't think I said that about the DJI Smart Controller, but if I did, I apologize. This is not for us, but this is our only option. So yeah, but if I said that, I apologize. I don't think I did, but yeah. Xenakis says, got a 30-second, just needs to score 50 more from him. What's that mean? I wonder what I was talking about at 10:47. Got a 30-second, just need another 50 more for him. 30-second. What's a 30-second? Frank Nicholas says, the DJI Smart Controller also works as a controller/screen for the Phantom Pro V2. Right, yeah, that's what this, this is not like for us. This is so that you don't have to have the regular controller with the fold-out part and put your phone in. This guy has thumbsticks here. It's got the gimbals. It's got the full selection of buttons and whatnot. So yeah, this is for Mavics. But, I never really talk about Mavic, so I didn't really talk about that in terms of that guy. Abraham with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, proud of you for the gig. I can get you hassle-free HDMI without watermark. Raspberry Pi reliability is surprisingly good. Check your Discord DMs. I got to be honest, Raspberry Pi scares the hell out of me. But we'll definitely talk. Thank you, Aber, and thanks for your generosity. Frank Nicholas says, I can loan you an Android tablet, but for the access box, etc., you should invest in a portable LCD display, 1080p, battery powered, $100 to $200. Yeah, I feel like we talked about that. Frank probably posted this before we talked about that. So, Third Eye Vision says, your smart controller is an Android tablet. That's interesting. This is just on loan from Joshua, though. So I would need to buy my own. But, yeah, I'm thinking about it. I have some folks that are in this world and have done this before that I'm going to rely on them pretty heavily. But yeah, I mean, it's 2 days after this gig, so there hasn't been enough time for me to really shake this out, but it'll get there for sure. Empty Head says, tune it better if it's shaking in the wind. Why fight the wind? I said use it properly and knowing the lay of the land where you can get wind protected areas. All right, tune it better if it's shaking in the wind. So here's how tuning works, Empty Head. The majority of the PID loop's ability to fight uncommanded movement. We talked about this yesterday, but it's a good conversation point. The majority of the PID loop's ability to control uncommanded movements coming through the gyro is going to be with thrust. It can do a little bit of motor braking, but it's not much at all, right? So the farther you push your tune, the more power you're going to give the PID loop access to. Technically speaking, it's not giving it more power. It's timing based, but for all intents and purposes, you're giving it more power, right? So in a windy situation, as your PID tune goes up, your ability to lower the throttle goes away. So you actually don't want to continue to crank the tune up, because you'll get to a point where you have no control over the rig, because you'll be at 0 throttle and it'll be correcting for the wind and it'll just be flying away on its own. This particular tune that Brandon's Baked Beans helped me out with, huge shout out to him, total guru, $1 a minute, he'll tune your rigs too. The tune that he hooked me up with and we worked on together a little bit was right at that limit. There were a couple of times where I brought the laptop and everything. I was thinking about pulling the tune down because it becomes unsafe and it's just not what you want. So yeah, you can't just keep cranking the tune up to keep beating the wind, because there's other problems that happen. And then you said use it properly and knowing the lay of the land. I flew about 20 to 30 batteries to get the lay of the land, hours and hours of flying. So I had a pretty good idea. I mean, yeah, I could have gotten there even earlier and flown 100 batteries to get the lay of the land, but I had it pretty memorized, after, like I said, flying for hours and hours. And then where you can get wind protected areas, there was no such thing. There was not a single area in this entire town that wasn't getting absolutely hammered, just ass hammered by the wind. I can't tell them to like change the race course for, better drone footage. They lay the race course out and then that's what I have to work with. And this was the best possible area. One of the things I actually talked to them about early on in the day is, hey, I checked the wind in all of the different areas of the track, and this one stretch is going to be the safest from a power line perspective, a spectator perspective, the way that the winds were swirling. This was an area that there's actually the wipeout. So here's the men's race. Keystrokes are down. Come on, OBS. So here's the men's race. Here's the one shot that I got of the men's race. So this is turn. There you go. So they just went around turn 2. This is all I got of the men's race right here. Pacing them, showing the whole big group. They told me like early on in the race, you don't really need to focus on the leaders because it's going to change. Hung with them here. And then right back behind me, this wreck occurs. Yeah, look at it. And it was that guy that went over I think it was the guy that went over the bars. Oh no, it was that first. You see him hit the fence. Oh my God, this was just, ooh. Yeah, look, he hits the curb and into the metal fence. God, that was so nasty. I'm gonna turn this off because pretty soon you can see him. You can see like his leg shaking, and it's just creepy. So yeah, there you go. There was that was the majority of the pro footage that I had. I'd flown. Before that, I'd flown, like I said, 30-ish batteries of like the amateurs and when people were just dicking around and just test. Where are we at here? Oh, YouTube just did the thing. Jackalope with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, brother. He says, Cam Fun Choo Choo Train. The year is 2024, and after dominating the niche market of FPV drone footage in American cycling, Mr. Ciotti is now finding himself on the big stage, the Tour de France. The problem with the Tour de France would be it's point A to point B. So you got to fly from a car, and you got to have multiple pilots. You got to have 2 or 3 pilots in 2 or 3 different cars. Because you got to fly, you got to stop the car, you got to land, you got to get the drone. The car's got to haul ass to catch up while you're changing batteries. And then the car's got to stop again, and then you got to take off again. And then the car's got to haul ass to catch up with them, and then you get your footage, and then you do it all over again. I don't know if that'll ever happen, because people that back off from the pack, like, they're going to be getting hit by the... I don't think it'll ever happen in the point A to point B. But this style of racing here, where it's, you know, NASCAR style sort of, is called Criterium, and it's perfect for drones. And this is the American Criterium Racing League, so I'm tied in with, like, the best of the cycle racing things for FPV, which is awesome. Looks like I'm getting caught up on chat. Awesome. Scooter FPV says, did they give you parameters of what you could or couldn't do, such as flying ground level among the pack and such? They didn't. They saw my work, my portfolio on YouTube and my Instagram, and they had they were like, dude, you can do whatever you want. And also, like, in talking to me, like, I was pretty heavy on, like, hey, I need to be safe. Hey, I need to be safe. Hey, I need to be safe. So they were just like, dude, the world is your oyster. The guy, Brad, that hired me for this whole thing, he was like, look, all these riders are on the waivers. You can hit them. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's all good. I showed him the drones. He's like, you're not going to hurt him with that, I don't think. I'm like, yeah, no, it's sub 250, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, they were just like, dude, do whatever the hell you want. What they did tell me is that between turns 2 and 3, which was my zone, they didn't have great coverage. They only had one camera in the middle. They didn't have a big boom arm with a gimbal. So they did say, like, we would prefer you to fly back there. And then when I was testing, that was the cleanest area. So I was like, I came into the truck, I was like, good thing you want me there, because that's where you want me to be anyway, from like a safety perspective. And they were just like, yeah, awesome. I had told them that I can drop down really low if they want me to, and they were like, that'd be great. I was like, I said, like, I probably won't, depending on the wind. They're like, that's totally fine. But I just got, with enough practice, I got really comfortable dropping down low and getting used to the way the winds were kind of swirling around. And yeah, I was able to get some really nice low level stuff. I made it a point to never drop below helmet height, though. I really, like, even when I really, really, really wanted to on some of those tracking shots, I never wanted a situation where I was down low and somebody wanted to pass, right? Because I don't have field of view behind me. So I never wanted to be, like, in someone's way that they would have to, like, change their course, or worst case, they hit me, right? So I always tried to keep myself up above helmet height. And there were a couple situations, actually, where it did happen. I would be tracking down, and I would be, like, 5-10 feet above helmet height, and somebody would come right underneath me. And like, when that would happen, I'd be like, yep, glad I resisted the urge to drop, 2 inches off the ground and get this, like, oh my God, crazy shot. In between races, though, I would just, like, run down that street like an inch off the ground, playing with the shadow of the drone, and every once in a while the truck would be like, dude, are you kidding me? So that was pretty funny, but they never took any of that footage, because that was when they would be doing, like, interviews and podiums and shit like that. But that was fun to kind of, I made it a point to show them what I could do. Like, when it was totally safe, I made it a point to show them some of the other stuff that they could get from me, because there were a half a dozen people in the camera truck, and they were, like, freaking out. Like, they were just watching me fly. There was always somebody watching me fly, and then they would rewind it, like, yo, look what Aaron did here. So yeah, I mean, this was also, like, the first time I'd worked with them, right? So this was my interview with them. So I wanted to give them a scope of, like, what shots are available from the drones, so that hopefully they can come back to me and say, like, all right, this is what we like, this is what we, doesn't work for us. So that's what I'm really excited about. I really want to work again with them, because I want to have that conversation of, like, hey, I gave you a ton of shots. What did you love? What did you not love? Because, I love what looks super gnarly, but you guys want me to show the subjects and how they're moving around and doing this strategy stuff. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what the cycling strategy is yet. So I want to get that feedback from them so that I can give shots that work for, you know, it's this like know your audience, right? The audience for these events are cyclists. So what do the cyclists want to see, right? It's easy to do a big split S and zoom and fly down and, you know, track them sideways and shit like that, right? That's like the wow factor, and that's great. The eye candy, you know, the producer kept calling it eye candy. That stuff is great, but you do that once, you give them that eye candy, and then like that's it, right? Then you want like 10 or 20 shots of like what the audience wants to see, and usually that's like the leader in the, you know, first and second place. But I just want to get more feedback from them of like, are those top down shots what you want, right? Like do you want me looking straight down on the big group to see them kind of doing this stuff and moving around? Yeah, so I'm excited for that. We'll see. Frank Nicholas says Axis Box is not that portable. Calbe from Goggles, Calbe. I'm not sure what that is. Power cable, HDMI cable to whatever output. Frank also says Axis Box needs cooling. Pocket is not a good idea. Nice. I guess I could rig it up on like a backpack or something. Frank Nicholas says Axis Box may run off of battery, not sure, but designed for USB power. So I'd be able to use this little guy, which would be awesome. So that would be no sweat. Charles Marseille says boom mic on a switch. Yeah, the problem is, where do I put the switch? How do I get a switch for the radio that I can easily hit while I'm flying, right? And don't you dare say, oh, put it on the transmitter. That'd be rad though, wouldn't it? The momentary switch on the transmitter triggers the microphone. Ooh. Terminal Insanity says, did you get your drone license? Was it hard? Nah, it's not that bad. The Northrops have a video on YouTube. If you watch that video like 10, 15, 20 times, you'll be in pretty good shape. You can go above and beyond. There's a shitload of resources. Just go to Google and type in Part 107. There's nothing but resources out there. But the Northrops video, here I'm going to type Northrop into the chat. Northrop. If you type like into YouTube here, Northrop Part 107, you'll find it. It's like an hour and a half long. They cover all the stuff that, not they. I'm used to the Northrops are a husband and wife photographer team. I'm used to them from photography, so I always say them because it's both of them. But the Part 109 is just the husband. I forget his name, but that's the video that you want. You'll love it. You won't love it. It's super boring, but it's free, and it'll get you there. Paul McDonald says, it's more the bearings that are wobbling. Shaft seems true. That's pretty rare. Usually I will break 3 or 4 motor shafts per top bearing. The bottom bearing pretty much never fails. The top bearing eventually fails. I've never had a top bearing wobble. That would mean that a ball bearing got out, and that typically doesn't happen because the races are pretty deep that hold the bearings, and there's a cage in there that holds the bearings in. So I doubt, unless the bearing is in really bad shape, I really doubt it. It's probably the shaft. But yeah, if it's wobbling that much, just replace it. If you can get just a replacement bell, do that. If not, just snag an extra motor. It's always nice to have an extra motor too. Kevin Sumner says, do you consider the LEDs on your quad part of the safety equipment during your gigs? I think I saw LEDs in the arms of one of the stationary cam shots. I do, Kevin. I'm impressed that anyone noticed that. I do. I prefer, one of the things that when someone hires me, I talk to them about is, will there be other cameras on while I'm flying? And once they answer that, I explain to them, I have LEDs on my rigs. I prefer to have those LEDs blasting so that everybody can see the rig. But if you're going to have other cameras on, I can just black electric tape over the LEDs. I had one producer tell me, please electric tape over them. these guys said no, from a safety perspective, that's totally fine. And they also said, like, we don't care if the drone shows up in the static shots because it's probably going to look cool. And hell yeah, it looked cool. So yeah, that's one of the... I didn't. That's not why I started putting the LED race wires on, but it's a cool little extra bonus, right? It just makes the rig a little bit more visible. Especially like at nighttime, it's handy, right? I mean, it's handy all the time, to be honest. Like if you're flying with other people, they can see you, which is cool because they can follow you and get some cool shots. Also, like, God forbid your goggles shit the bed, right? You pull your goggles up, if you've got LEDs all over the rig, you might be able to see the damn thing and try to walk it home. So yeah, it's a cool little added benefit of the LEDs. I realized that last year at some point. I was like, this is... From like a safety perspective, I dig the LED thing. I don't talk about that much. Thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, black electric tape right over the arm LEDs, done. It does not shine through black electric tape at all, so they're easy to turn off. 661 says, just got a QAV 4-inch. Did you have to file down the front standoffs and the camera plates too? I did the build on the stream. So if you go to my uploads, there's a little search bar. You can search for QAV-S and you'll find the build. I don't remember, but that kind of sounds a little bit familiar. So I might have. This is one of the other... There's a lot of reasons I don't like vertical camera plates. This is one of the reasons I don't like them. It's, if you play this game, they're always really, really tight, as she said. And then if you file them down too much, then they're banging around and wobbling around. So try to not file them down, but if they absolutely won't fit, yeah, just be gentle. Take off a little bit of material and try to get it really, really locked in. Zanaka says, just keep swimming. Life is too effing short. Hell yeah, man. Live this shit hard while you're here. Kevin Sumner says, you previously said you don't have a spot for a 3.5-inch Cinewhoop other than maybe go-kart chasing, maybe 3.5-inch Cinewhoop for bike races. I have a feeling that even without the headwind, anything with ducts or guards is going to be too slow and too inefficient. Efficiency is a big deal at these kind of events because the more often you're changing batteries, the less often you're up in the air. Because of the fact that I don't have to haul around a GoPro and I can build these damn things to be sub 250 and carry the DJI camera, like, why bother, right? Like, it's... Yeah, these 3.5-inch props are a little bit stabby, but like, I really don't think that a sub 250 rig is gonna... FAA says sub 250, you can do pretty much whatever the hell you want. So you know what? Fuck it. You guys are gonna say that? Let's rip. Yeah, it's... And, like, these bike races are outside, and, like, the wind is... I have a feeling the wind is going to be a pretty constant kind of thing. So, it's interesting, right? Because there's, like, the Get RC Cinelog 35, right? But, man, that rig, there's a lot of shit going on. And, like, fucking arms in the low pressure zone and, like, all kinds of stuff. And there's not a shot in hell of getting that thing below 250, right? So, yeah, ducts on. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. That's I don't know of any 3.5-inch other than the Cinelog, which is pretty heavy. I don't know of any 3.5-inch Cinewhoops. But yeah, I have a funny feeling that my setup is going to become 3 Cinesplores, 2 of them like this with the 3.5-inch props, 1 of them with the ducts on the 3-inch tri-blades or 5 blades. And then, yeah, and then I'm totally covered. If I need to, I can put the ducts back onto these and swap out to the 3-inch props. I've got, 3 is 1, 1 is none. It's a frame that I know flies well. It's easily serviceable. I feel like that's... I just... Yeah. I think that's going to be the setup. But, I don't know. Still turning it over in my head. Still trying to figure out what would be the best bet. It's an interesting little engineering challenge, though, isn't it? Zanakis dropping the link to CiottiFPV.com. Thank you, dude. Cody Essay says, just bought 2 glide frames. What motors do you use on 4S? T-Motor F40 Pro 4s are my favorite, and 2400 kV would be for 4S. And then, just in my opinion, just stop buying 4S batteries, start buying 6S batteries. You can motor limit them down for 6S, and you'll be good to go. Chomper FPV says, great job with those shots. Thank you, brother. Jackalope FPV with a $10 super chat. Glenn Burnett says, nice flying. We hit Jackalope's super chat before, which is why I'm not reading it. Frank Nicholas says, you blasted the DJI Smart Controller for not doing the only thing it's designed for, referring to FPV out. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I was wrong. I'm a dick, as always. Brennan's Baked Bean says, how do you output the screen off the tablet, though, after hooking it to the goggles? Oh, you're right. You're right. I wonder if you can get the HDMI out of the Android with some kind of a hub. Otherwise, it has to stream. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, so not only that, but I'm going to be hogging the USB-C port or B port or whatever, USB port with power. So it's going to have to wirelessly spit the video out, and that's a no-go on that one. So good call, Brandon. Yeah, I think it's going to have to be the Axis box, because the Axis box has HDMI out. I guess maybe you could do like a USB splitter on the tablet, but ooh, you'd have power coming in one and trying to be sending video out the other. Ooh, good call, Brandon. I had a funny feeling the Axis box was going to be the move. Interesting. Good call, dude. Good call. Brandon Speaker says, a laptop or Chromebook will work. Use the FPV Out website on a Chrome browser and the HDMI out the laptop. That's interesting. I don't love the idea of dragging a laptop around. There's spectators and shit like walking around and like, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to keep this as slimmed down and interesting. Guess I could put the laptop like in a backpack on my back though. Interesting. Kevin Sumner says, intents and purposes. I think you mean intensive purposes. Anybody that doesn't get that joke, I feel like 90% of this country truly thinks that intents and purposes is actually intensive purposes, because maybe it's just because I live in the South, I don't know, but I've never heard anyone down here say anything other than intensive purposes, which makes absolutely no sense in the context that they're using it. Abraham says, YouTube just did the thing. You do you, but I can basically guarantee you a purpose-built Pi is more reliable than a phone or tablet running Android with a third-party DigiView app. That sounds good, Aber. We're definitely going to talk. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk. Literally nothing more than power up the Pi with anything from 2S to 6S DC, plug in the USB port and HDMI output, and you're good to go. Taking it, like I said, you do you. Aber, is there any way to put a tiny little screen on there? I would love to have, similar to this, like, I would love to have a way by myself of checking to make sure that it's outputting video so that I can get around this issue of having to talk to the truck. It worked really well, me not talking to the truck, them talking to me, and then me being able to say yes on pitch or no on roll. But yeah, in order for me to do that, I would want there to be a little tiny screen of some sort. Interesting. Golden FPV with a 199 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, best drone for Caddx Peanut. Hex, Cinerace 20, Cinelog. Best drone is a question that is unanswerable, unfortunately, Golden. Best drone is a fiercely individual thing specifically for you and you and you and you and you and you and you. Everybody has a completely different set of circumstances, likes, dislikes, experience level. On my Fiverr page, I offer something called build planning. And the first 10 to 15 minutes of my one-on-one build planning sessions are just me hammering you with questions. Where do you fly? Who are your favorite pilots? How do you fly? How often do you crash? What do you crash into? I need to know all of these things in order to hone in on the exact right rig for you specifically. What's your payload? What are you doing with the footage? There's just, I have a big ass list of questions. You mentioned a hex. Hexes don't really make much sense for anything. They're a total like hype train, like just, you know, we just designed this to sell more stuff. So I would definitely not go with a hex. They just don't make any sense. They just don't do anything better than a quad. Cinerace 20, that's a pretty heavy 2-inch rig that's specifically built for Cinewoop racing. So that's probably not going to be the best bet unless that's what you're doing. If you're looking to do Cinewoop racing with a Caddx Peanut on board, then the Cinerace 20 might be your best bet. But for anything other than that, it doesn't really make any sense, right? It's a tool meant for a very specific job. If you're going to go outside of that job, there's probably something else better for it. So yeah, you want to think about like, am I going to fly freestyle or am I going to fly cinematic? If you're going to fly freestyle, you probably don't want something with prop guards or ducts, because there's just no reason for it. It just wrecks the flight performance, right? If you're going to fly cinematic, maybe you want something with prop guards or prop ducts, but only if you're going to be flying cinematic around people at very slow speeds. If you want to cover more ground and you're not worried about hitting people or expensive objects, you can get away with not having prop ducts. So there's a bunch of stuff for you to chew on. Hopefully, you know, I super appreciate the support. I wish I could give you a better answer, but yeah, I mean, I spend a minimum a half an hour on those one-on-one calls to really be able to give somebody the perfect suggestion for what the best drone is for them. Without all of that information, I have to keep it kind of broad. So hopefully I gave you $2 worth of broad information. If I didn't, I apologize, but it's kind of the best that I can do here on a live stream. Athix says the 5-inch 250 would be great for efficiency and performance for the bike race. That was one of my very first thoughts. Yesterday I realized there's props in view, which is a no-go. Also, a 5-inch propeller is a huge parachute. A 5-inch 250 would get the hell beaten out of it by the wind. So yeah, those two things make that a no-go. I'm probably going to be sticking with 3-inch. I want to keep the footprint of the rig as small as possible so that the least amount of wind is hitting it. That's my current thought. I thought that Joshua did not turn off his camera right away, and it looks like he didn't hit end stream. Thank you for calling that out. Yo, your stream is still up. No cam, but I think you forgot to hit end stream on YouTube. Welcome to streaming. To start or stop a stream, the things that you have to do the list of things that you have to click is just absurd. Thanks for letting me know, Terminal. It's such a pain in the ass. Streaming is, it's like a comedy. It really, like, being a streamer is like it's just like a bad comedy of like, a couple of people have come to me and been like, yo, I want to start streaming, and I'm like, don't. But they're like, no, I really do. I'm like, okay. And they're like, can you show me a couple things? I'm like, all right. And a couple of them have come over here. And I'm like, all right, you got some time, right? And I take them, and I'm like, you got to do this. You got to run this program. You got to do this over here. You got to send your audio into here. In OBS, you got to do this. You got to do this workaround, 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 this workaround. And not a single one of those people has done a single live stream. Because after seing how absolutely ridiculous it is, they're just like, all right, never mind. Like, they don't, like, they'll take notes and they'll write it all down. And I've never seen one of them do a single live stream, and I don't blame them. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. Thanks for the heads up, Terminal. RC Ritter says, that is why the Access box. Yeah, it's starting to feel like it, right? Layman Board says a lot of tablets have micro HDMI out. No way. Ooh, okay. Okay. Frank Douglas says, no Android tablet's USB-C port can have power in, HDMI out, and USB-C to the goggles. Wow, okay. So I guess the tablets are back on the table. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Because the tablet thing has the screen built in, and it's just a program that's running on there. So that's interesting. Abraham says, my Raspberry Pi box has HDMI out and weighs a fraction of the Access box. I promise it's worth a look. Just have a look. I certainly will be. Blizzard FPV with a $2 Canadian super chat. He says, Dickens Fund. Blizzard, I apologize that you've missed. I tried to talk about it on as many streams in a row as I could. I changed the way that the thing works. But wait, no, you're good. You're good. I can still get you on there. In order to get on it though, I need you to go on the Discord channel, and you gotta post in the Dickend Fun group. But I can add you to the list here. I just got to go to... Oh, no, I can just pull up Discord. Hold on. Yeah, we're fine. I changed how it works a little bit, but it's actually... It's totally fine that you did a super chat. It's completely fine. I just need to come over here. And... I need to go in here. And I need to go in here. And I need to pull up the Google Doc. And the big thing that I need from you, Blizzard, the reason I need you to post in the Dickens Discord channel is I need your real name. So just for right now, I'm just going to put you in this like general list here as Blizzard FPV. But the problem is Blizzard FPV doesn't mean anything to me on Patreon. Like I need to be able to get your address and stuff like this, unless you're Blizzard FPV on Patreon. And I'm going to go $2 Canadian. All right, so you're on the list, but I need you to post in there. I also need to know M3 or M4. So hop onto the Discord, get into that channel, post your info. I've called it all out in there, so just read my chat comments and it'll make sense to you. All right. Oh, Jesus, it's midnight already. All right, full speed, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. My voice is actually starting to go, so this is good. Raymond Tim says, I just recently learned it's tongue-in-cheek, not tongue-and-cheek. That's a much more subtle one, but yeah, tongue-in-cheek. It's, and I only know that because, wait, hold on. Right, that's the saying, right? That's what the saying is referencing, putting your tongue in your cheek, and you can't talk when you do that. That's a good one though, Tim. Frank Douglas says a Raspberry Pi will not take 6S. It's USB power only, 5 volt, 1.5. Same answer as before. That's not an issue. Frank also says Raspberry Pi has 2 HDMI outputs. Very cool. Kevin Sumner says for a tiny HDMI screen, you might be able to find an old Fat Shark transformer screen. Ooh, that's a cool idea. I like that. Kevin Sumner says, I may have a source. Very cool. What I would love, to be honest, I don't know where it is now. Hey, there it is. I would love to be able to rig something up with one of these stupid little things. This is all I need. I just need the smallest little screen so I can take the quad and move it to see if the image is actually moving, to make sure it hasn't... or maybe that's not an issue. Maybe the smart controller is just garbage. You know, the application or whatever that's on here is just garbage, and that's why it's locking up all the time. Maybe a Raspberry Pi or the Access box are completely bulletproof, and it wouldn't be an issue. But I'm nervous after the experience that I had, because yeah, I don't want to be flying 2, 3, 4 batteries in the row, and the truck is like, "Hey, Aaron, you ever gonna fucking go back up in the air?" So yeah. Gamma Gonad says, "You guys think a Pi B Plus would run it good enough? If so, I'll send CiottiFPV one with a small screen. I have like 4, one brand new I'm not using. It sounds like Aber's got something cooking, Gamma. I mean, if you have extras, Gamma, would you be willing to send one of those to Aber? And then, Aber, it sounds like you're building these things, right? I think we might have talked about this a while ago on Discord. Let's all maybe get together. Gamma, are you on Discord? Aber, I know you're on Discord. Let's link up and make some magic happen. 661FPV says, number one most common thing I've heard on a live screen, how do I end this thing? Yeah. Yeah, it's just insane. It's true. It's true. Frank Douglas says, Access Box is running Android. I had a feeling it was. Of what I've seen. I remember the first Access Box video I saw, I was like, that's running Android, isn't it? And then last comment of the night, Frank Douglas says, DJI to HDMI out with plug, unplug, power on, power off is the problem. Syncing HDMI live is an issue with all the solutions. That sucks. That sucks. So yeah, that means a screen is absolutely necessary. If it's going to be the same thing regardless of this versus anything else. So that's a shame, but it is what it is. I thought what really pissed me off is I thought I had it figured out. I thought that if I left my goggles plugged in, left the USB plugged in, put the goggles down on the table, swap the batteries real quick, pick the goggles back up, I thought that would fix it, but it won't. There's something about it losing transmission from the rig and then trying to pick that transmission back up. It just doesn't like it. The goggles are fine with it. The goggles are fine every single time, but on the smart controller, it's just like, yeah, like I was saying, every like 2 or 3 or 4 batteries it was happening. So yeah, that means that I have to have some sort of a screen solution. Thanks for that feedback, Frank. That's super valuable. All right, friends, I'm gonna wrap this up before my voice goes. Potluck, got it. We didn't get any work done on the... is there anything I can do? Hey, there's an antenna on that one. Feel bad because I didn't do any work, but a lot of times these Monday night streams have just 2 hours of amazing questions and great conversation. So, awesome, Gamma. I'm also very hungry, so no extra streaming. Love you guys. Wednesday, Whoop Wednesday. Probably won't be Whoop Wednesday. It'll probably be Workbench Wednesday, and it's going to be less Q&A and a lot of trying to bang these slammed glides out down. Terminal Insanity says, slam that glide down to 5 millimeters. Love you guys. Be good. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and I'll see you Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And yeah, we'll get some slammed glide building done. if you're willing to spend $800 on a CiottiFPV custom slammed glide, if you want to prepay for one of these, it's yours. I've already had one person that's messaged me and said that they're probably going to do it. So, yeah, that means there's probably only 2 left. You'll have some options. I have some different TPU, Session 5 TPU, Hero 7 TPU. You know, if you pre-order it, you can even tell me, like, what receiver to put in, or, like, if you wanted a Vista put into it, I could do that. It wouldn't be slammed, but, yeah, if you're willing to spend $8 on one of these, yeah, I have no problem pre-selling it. Yeah. If that seems expensive, it is. You're paying for 5+ years of experience to be able to build a slammed glide that flies really, really, really well. If that's not worth it to you, that's totally cool. If it's worth it to anyone, that's awesome. You know, this is me supporting FPV as a job. So, you know, don't yell at me if you think $800 is insane. Steele was selling his rigs for $1,000+. So, you know, it's we're trying to make a living. We're trying to keep the lights on. So, love you guys. Be good. See you Wednesday. Here comes some more flying at the stables. Last battery of that day. Later. Hold on, I gotta quit out of OBS to get audio again. Be right back. Later.
They're walking straight towards us, right in the middle of the parking lot.
Yeah, straight towards us. From right to left.